Shall we move on to the big one of the week then?
We probably should.
So we were going to... we've been thinking about getting Donnie on the podcast for a number of weeks now, but this seemed like a perfect time to get you involved because you are actually reviewing this for Pure Dead Gaming, aren't you?
Yes.
And you don't like these games, right?
Well, the thing is, like, I'm not going to lie, I'm a massive shite bag when it comes to scary games, and not my cup of tea. And Craig, over on Pure Dead Gaming, knew that and thought, do you know what? All the free games I give you, Donnie, fuck you. You're going to play a game you don't like. So
Excellent.
He's clearly punishing me. And so, so I've been playing that, and it's... What I would say about Callisto Protocol is it's a tale of two halves. The first half of it is a struggle. It's a struggle. And the second half gets a little bit better. But for me, the common complaints, I have to agree with.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I know me and you, Ben, are kind of opposites on this.
Yeah, I mean, this is divisive. This game is divisive. There's no doubt about it. Like, a lot of what I see, because we're on Twitter a lot.
Let's not talk about reviews until we get to the feature.
No, we're on Twitter a lot, and there's a lot of I'd say negativity towards this on Twitter, but there's also a lot of people backing it, so it's quite divisive.
Yes.
And I'm very much aware that recently my views on a few games have been counter to the general opinion that you'd hear on some things like God of War and things like that. But but yeah, I'm in the complete opposite camp to you. I absolutely love Callisto Protocol. I think it's excellent. I mean, where I'm at in the game, I don't know if you've finished it or near completion. I think I'm probably about 75% through.
I'm about the same.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're probably about the same place. And I hear a lot of the criticism, and we'll go through this, and we'll start start from the beginning, and we'll get there. But I hear a lot of the criticism, and we'll talk about that. So Callisto Protocol, for those that don't know, is an action horror game with a focus on action, and very much, and the hype was very much like it was Dead Space.
Yes, it's Dead Space.
It's Dead Space.
Well, and a lot of people have been saying, well, actually, it's not like Dead Space, but I am firmly in the camp that it is very similar to Dead Space in a lot of ways. But from the outset, the visuals, I think we can probably both agree on this. I changed it. Yeah, I changed it to performance mode straight away. Like,
oh god, yeah.
Yeah, like change it to performance mode because and get rid of that film like grain and the motion blur and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to put in performance mode, but not savages. So it's performance
exactly. You got to have that high frame rate. You got to do that. I'm playing on PS5, and I think it looks absolutely brilliant. Like really, really good. We've always said before, and I think Dead Space still holds up to this day because of the corridor kind of horror atmosphere. It's almost easier to make it look spectacular, and they do achieve that. And the character models are
brilliant.
They're really, really good. The story itself is very Dead Space as well. This doesn't help if you haven't played Dead Space.
Which shock horror I haven't. On account of being a massive shite bag.
So it's not at all like Dead Space for you then. Okay, right.
Yeah, nothing like it. This is a walk in the park.
Basically, some shit goes down. You're in a prison on this space kind of planet, and you've got to escape. You've got to escape.
You mentioned story there. It's a little bit light on story, we shall say.
Yes, but
great use of "we" there. Great use.
Honestly, but in its this, I see this as like a spiritual. I don't know if success is the right word, but something that's going side by side with something like Dead Space. This is going to be very annoying as we go through, but it is so similar in terms of its story delivery. Like there's a person helping you through, just like Dead Space. It's almost identical in its delivery of the story. It's
almost like the people who made Dead Space made a new game.
Yeah, absolutely. And they went, that worked, and
we like that.
They've just done it again. Wow. Very, very standard. But I would say that I actually really like the story and I like the characters, but I don't know how that's come over to you. But I'm fully in on it.
No, it's just the fact that you wake up in this prison cell, and obviously the prison's turned to shit, and it's almost like it's been like that for weeks because there's like growth, and I'm like, but So when did all that happen? How long will I sleep for? It was all just a little bit too convenient.
Yes.
And then I've got to the point where there's a little bit of not a twist in the story, but it was obviously going to happen. And it was just like, saw that coming a mile away. When they tried to escape, I won't go. In case you're not where I am, I won't go any. I won't say any more. I
imagine I'm similar, but yeah. I think what I would say, and the direct comparison, I recently played Dead Space 2 on stream, and somebody watching said when we were near the end, no fucking idea what's going on with the story. It's like, that's it's, and I know you shouldn't necessarily be making this comparison, but everybody holds Dead Space, including myself, on this massive pedestal. I go, that's really good. That is what these games. That is pretty much up there for what these types of games should be. This is just delivering the same.
Yeah.
It's not breaking any mold. It's just delivering the same. And if we were happy with that, we should be happy with this. Is kind of how I'm looking at it. But that's not necessarily the case. But I just for that comparison.
Yeah.
But the main, I suppose, the main highlight, the main focus, I think, is a lot of what people talk about, and also the game itself is the combat. So it immediately differentiates itself from something like Dead Space, which is very gun focused. Like Dead Space is cycling through guns, getting different blueprints, all this kind of stuff. You do get different schematics as you go through to get extra weapons, but the main focus is melee. And it's not got a timing based dodge system. It's more of a leaning system. You just have to be leaning out the way. It's all about timing, being in the right place, movement patterns of enemies, and knowing when to attack, and different enemies have different movement patterns. And positioning of where you are is incredibly important, like having your back against the wall when there's multiple enemies, all that kind of stuff. Now this is where a lot of the criticism has been. Now this melee combat, I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great way to differentiate themselves. I also think that on a one-on-one fight, it's really cool. Now what a lot of people are saying, and I'd love to hear your kind of thoughts on this, is that people are saying that it's almost cheap, that when there are multiple enemies and there are some behind you, that you can't see what's coming for you. The game doesn't allow you to really twist and do a 180 and all this kind of stuff, and it just doesn't work with multiple enemies. Yeah,
because you can't lock on, so you can't specifically target an enemy unless the game dictates it, which is usually the one closest to you. But if you're, like you said, if you're surrounded in any way, it's game over. There's no getting out of it. And the problem is that essentially your combat is effectively spamming R2. That's basically all you're doing. And
some R1.
Hi, a little bit of R1 when it helps, but we're just kind of spamming it until we get that indicator to fire your gun quickly. If you're quick enough on the trigger, and it's frustrating. You're right. See, when you're one-on-one, particularly if you've got an enemy coming towards you and there's a trap you can throw them into, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's wicked.
And it means you can take down tough enemies instantly because it's an instant death.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's it. I must admit that I do like. That's probably a fact that the glove thing you get is probably the best part of the game. In truth,
so you get a glove that allows you to like gravity pull enemies and hold them, and then you can like throw them, and you can upgrade that and all that kind of stuff. And it's that's pretty cool to get you out of some tough spots. A lot of people are saying like this is bad design of the game, the whole combat situation that with multiple enemies. Now I must say that it doesn't happen that often. Oftentimes the max that you'd really fight with 2 to 3. Sometimes there are more, and you'll die, but then I've never had to redo a section more than once. You immediately work out. You've worked out attack. Okay, I'll come back to the wall. I bait that one in. That one comes first. I back against the wall. Nothing's behind me. Right, I can do this, that, the other. I think I see it as a design choice. It's not like they wouldn't have noticed this in design or QA. Like it's not like it's a thing that they would have just ignored. I don't think. And you are, more than anything, like in Dead Space when you're just an engineer or what have you, you are just a pilot. You're just a man. You're not an assassin. You're vulnerable. You come up against 5 enemies. Yeah, that's that. If that happens, then you are in a hard spot. You make it through. You feel amazing. But if you were in a real fight, if the fight, you get sucker punched. Yeah, it happens. I mean, I don't. It's almost like people expect that you should be able to not take any damage, and the game has to be fair. Why does it have to be fair?
No, but I think having some form, at least have some form of lock on, would be a major advantage. Because then you're choosing who you want to attack, whereas the game's deciding to you. So that's. I know you're saying you're just a man, but at least a man can make a choice to.
I think the lock on kind of moves the like. I am so immersed in this game. Like I'm playing headphones. I'm playing in the dark whenever I can as well. Like I feel so immersed. Things
Is that
like
just
that
to save on bills, though, Ben?
Yeah, it might be because I haven't got the heating on either. It's fucking freezing in here.
I bet, yeah.
But it almost like I love that the immersion is kept up through and through, and that's one of the things. Like, there's not a lock on, and it does feel like the combat. People are saying it's slow, and I think it's heavy and methodical. I am actually like almost likening this to old school Dark Souls. Like
it's very weighty. Everything you do has got weight and pull behind it.
Yeah, and you have to. And what you're doing is so, and you can no hit. You can come across 3 enemies and no hit them if they're all in front of you and all this kind of stuff. If something does slip behind you, then that's your fault.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. That's how I'm viewing it, and I haven't had a problem with it, and I really like that aspect. I like that it's not fair. I like that it's a real fight. Like it's that it's. I think they're trying to keep the immersion in general in the game is like the atmosphere is amazing. The audio design.
Yes, it's creepy as fuck.
It's wonderful. I personally like the fact that there are no puzzles and anything like that. It just keeps the immersion going. It's just this is the game.
Yeah. Too many puzzles is a nightmare. I think we all agree on that, and there's been a lot of comment about Ragnarok and puzzles also of late. But my big issue I have in this game, I feel as though you just go corridor, enemy, corridor, enemy, corridor, enemy, corridor, enemy. And that's effective.
That's more of a comment on the. That's more of the comment on the genre, I think.
Yeah, and so that's a negative as well. Don't get me wrong, the designs are lovely. You're never in the same corridor twice. So it's all, there's a lot of variety in design and style, but that's all it kind of is. And maybe I just wanted a little bit more. Maybe that's where sometimes actually puzzles aren't the worst because they do help with pacing, as opposed to just going through the same type of corridor over and over again.
Yeah, maybe it's just different expectation of what the
of course.
game, because I came into this thinking this is going to be like Dead Space. I think this is exactly what I expected, and it's delivering right on that. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's missing a mark for me. Like I don't know, like a lot of the comments that I'm hearing, and we're discussing them now, and I get exactly what you're saying. I understand, and I can feel it. A lot of the people that on the internet just seem to be saying maybe not have even played the game, and they're kind of agreeing with what people are saying about the combat. I do think there's another argument or another side to what people are saying. It's not just this is bad. It's more like this is design.
Do we feel, guys, that we could sort of roll into the feature with this? Because then you can talk about the feedback a bit.
Yeah, we'll move on to that in a second. Then I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, the take home from this is I actually think that this might go down as a bit of a cult classic, and it might go down that Alien Isolation route, where at the time people would say, okay, this is okay, but actually it turns out to be a bit of a classic.
Yeah. Wait. Just what I would say as well, I did say it's a tale of two halves. The second half of the game does pick up, once you pick up your spacesuit that you see obviously in the on the front cover. It does pick up then, because you then get a bigger inventory, which, believe me, you fucking need in this game.
Yeah, but that's the inventory stuff. Like Resident Evil is like that. Like Dead Space is like that. Like that's classic survival horror.
You didn't like the last Resident Evil.
No, shit. Last Resident Evil shit. It was garbage. Hot garbage.
And the game then introduces you to a new type of enemy that's very much kind of borrowed from The Last of Us. The enemies can't see; it's all by sound, and that's where you can finally use the stealth mechanic that they introduced. That's been fucking useless up until now.
Yeah, you never use it, right?
It's horrendous, yeah. But you use it now. Fucking hell, you need to. So the game definitely has, and I must admit, there was a time last night where I was close to going, fuck you, Craig, I'm not playing anymore. And I rage quit from
Really?
listening to music. Yeah. And then, do you know what? And then today, I put my big boy pants on and went, do you know what? Fucking grow up a little bit. And I sat this afternoon and got past that hurdle, got the suit, and then now I'm thinking, yeah, it's definitely improved.
Honestly,
And I'm enjoying this half more.
honestly, I love this game. I think it is brilliant.
I can tell you do, because you're fighting me on fucking everything here.
Ben would do that anyway. But
I'm trying to hold back a little bit because I just it's almost like I'm not really engaging on Twitter or anything on it because I just think there's no real point because a lot of the people are calling negatives, I'm kind of agreeing with, but I'm not saying they're negative, so it's a bit weird. But I'm just I'm thoroughly enjoying this. Like I can't wait to play it more. It's fantastic.
But that's a good thing, though. That's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's different. It just goes. We've been saying it for weeks now. Like it really is dependent on your taste. Like games aren't universally good or bad. They're just some of them
but
are just
as well.
different.
You think that